What if pain isn't the problem, but actually the pathway back to you? You're listening to The Leadership Wound, From Pain to Permission. I'm Amanda Rohr, your host and founder of Authentically You, coaching for embodied spiritual living and leading. This is where we get honest about the real cost of leadership, the burnout, the pretending, the rejection, and the return to your authentic self. Because this isn't about performance, it's about permission. Welcome to the leader you've always been. Many leaders live under what I call the spirit of performance. The belief that if we just achieve enough, maybe our purpose will catch up. It's sneaky though, because it disguises itself as excellence. But underneath, it's often fear driving us. Fear of being unseen, fear of being unneeded, or the fear of unworthiness. But purpose breaks that cycle, because when you're grounded in your purpose, you're not leading to prove something. You're not leading to prove to someone. You're leading from the truth of who you already are. Welcome to The Leadership Wound, the podcast that talks about the hidden cost of leadership, about our pain, and moves us into permission. I'm your host, Amanda Rohr, founder of Authentically You, coaching for embodied spiritual living and leading. I help leaders live and lead authentically with confidence, clarity, and purpose. And we're in the middle of a series exploring 5 areas that leaders often neglect. The areas that quietly shape how we live and lead, like renewal, healing, purpose, alignment, and community. And today we're focusing on the third word, purpose. Because when we lose sight of why we're doing what we're doing, leadership becomes something that we manage instead of something we live. There was a time in a previous role where I wasn't exactly burned out, but I was beginning to question whether where I was would ever materialize into why I took the position in the first place. There were hints along the way, small signs that the original vision I had said yes to wasn't likely to unfold the way I imagined, but I kept kind of brushing them off. Until I entered an intentional season of prayerful discernment. You know, that in-between space where you're open to what the Lord has next, but you're also asking honest, clarifying questions. Like, does this role still serve the purpose to which I was called to? Is this still where my gifts can grow and bear fruit? And if I stay, will I be doing it out of faith or out of fear? Those questions led me into one of the most refining seasons of my leadership. After a time of prayer, conversation with people I trusted, it became clear what had once been purposeful had become misaligned. I hadn't failed. I was simply being released. Maybe you've been there too. You still believe in the mission, but something in your spirit is unsettled. You find yourself wondering, is this still where I'm meant to be? It's not rebellion, it's awareness. It's the moment when you realize that sometimes God invites you to move, not because you've done something wrong, but because He's doing something new. Purpose is what gives direction to everything we do. Renewal restores your energy, and healing cleans your heart. But purpose is what gives you direction. And without it, even good work begins to feel hollow. You can be effective and still feel empty. You can be achieving, but not aligned. Purpose is what keeps your external success connected to your internal satisfaction. I can remember coaching a young leader who was wrestling with deep frustration in their role, not because the organization was doing something wrong, but because something inside wasn't at peace with them. Through honest reflection and self-awareness, they began to realize that what the organization had to offer simply wasn't what they needed or wanted anymore. It wasn't about blame, it was about clarity. The first step was radical self-awareness. It's naming what they wanted, naming what energized them, and what was no longer resonating. Without that step, it's easy for leaders to point fingers at others instead of taking ownership of their own desires, values, and design. Once this individual could see clearly, everything shifted. Eventually, they realized that they wanted a different role. Their circumstances didn't change before that realization came, and it didn't change overnight, but their posture did. They began leading from honesty instead of resentment, and that changed everything about how they showed up and where they went next. Drifting from purpose doesn't happen because we stop caring. We fill our schedule so tightly that we can't hear the whisper anymore. We confuse busyness with fruitfulness, and we assume motion equals meaning and purpose. And before we know it, we're running hard in a direction that no longer fits who we've become. So let me ask you, what first drew you to where you are right now? And is that still alive for you? Has your why changed, but your role hasn't caught up yet? Or where might God be inviting you to release something that no longer aligns with who you are becoming? Take a deep breath. You don't need to answer all these questions all at once, but you do need to be honest with yourself. Many leaders live under what I call the spirit of performance. The belief that if we just achieve enough, maybe our purpose will catch up. It's sneaky though, because it disguises itself as excellence, but underneath, it's often fear driving us. Fear of being unseen, fear of being unneeded, or the fear of unworthiness. But purpose breaks that cycle, because when you're grounded in your purpose, you're not leading to prove something. You're not leading to prove to someone. You're leading from the truth of who you already are. Purpose reframes how we define success. When you're clear on your why, success isn't just about outcomes. It's about alignment. Success becomes faithfulness to your calling, not comparison to someone else's. Success looks like peace, not just progress. And success becomes doing the right things for the right reasons, even when no one else notices. Because purpose keeps your metrics from becoming your master. It reminds you that what you accomplish will never mean more than who you're becoming in the process. And that's profoundly freeing on so many levels. Because when success is defined by your purpose, you stop chasing the elusive significance and you start living authentically. From a spiritual lens, purpose isn't about striving. It's about surrender. It's about saying, God, align my heart with where you're already at work. When Jesus said, my food is to do the will of him who sent me, he was describing purpose, not just activity, but actual nourishment, not only to his soul, but to those he served. Doing what he was created to do didn't drain him. It sustained him. That's what purpose feels like: steady, satisfying, content, and sacred. Here are a few practical ways to reconnect with your why. The first is revisit your origin story. What first stirred in your heart for the work that you're doing? Go back and remember what moved you before you looked at metrics and results and what other people said. Number 2, name what no longer fits. This is where radical self-awareness comes into the picture. Where are you out of alignment with who you're becoming, with who you are today? Recognizing that isn't failure, it's growth. And thirdly, follow your energy. It will tell you so many things. What makes you feel most alive, even when it's hard? Energy's like a breadcrumb, leading you back to your purpose. Just because you do things that are hard doesn't mean that they drain you. In fact, some of the most invigorating things I've done over the past couple of years have been hard. But looking back and seeing where I've come and where I am enlivens the spirit within me. And lastly, discern in safe spaces. You don't get clear alone. Purpose clarifies in the presence of others, mentors, coaches, spiritual directors, friends, spouses. They can hold up a mirror to your truth. Purpose isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. It's the difference between performing leadership and embodying your calling. One burns you out while the other fills you up. Purpose is what turns activity into alignment. It's what makes leadership not just sustainable, but sacred work. If you're in that in-between space, you're discerning, you're questioning, or you're just sensing that what once fit doesn't quite anymore, I want you to know that's not failure, that's growth. You don't have to navigate it alone. This is the work I do every day with leaders, helping them clarify their why, identify where misalignment is showing up, and design rhythms that reflect the leader that they are. And I get it. It's hard to begin a relationship with someone you don't know. That's why I offer a free 30-minute call. It's not a sales pitch. It's just a space to explore where you are, where you want to be, and whether what I offer can help you along the journey. Because in 90 days, you could be in a completely different place. You could be grounded in your purpose, clear on your direction, and leading from peace instead of pressure. My coaching packages provide a safe container for transformation to help you rediscover your why, realign those rhythms, and begin living and leading authentically again. If that's something that interests you, I encourage you to go on over to my website, Authentic Leadership Collective, and book your free 30-minute call today. And while you're there, you can grab some free resources. I put together an authentic leadership kit, including several resources like a morning meditation to center yourself before the day begins, or a guide for 10 traps that keep leaders stuck and how to break free from them. Because purpose isn't something that you find, it's actually something you remember. And when you do it, leadership stops feeling heavy and starts feeling whole again. Until next time, lead like you.